done. So I'm turning on to the Ananda Maya Kosha, which is the bliss sheet. Sorry?
It's like I moved it so when someone's talking, it's not just calling. Sorry.
Okay. So the bliss sheet is the sheet around the inner essence of the Atma. We've heard that a lot. What is the Atma? What is your soul? What is the inner essence? Within this sheet, we metabolize our experience of samadhi. The mind is set to rest in its intrinsic natural state, which is pure bliss. These are all very loaded sentences here. And each sentence and each word in here needs a lot of deeper conversation and discourse or contemplation. It is also called the basic vibration or hum of the universe. Ananda is not as much an experience, rather a state from where the possibility to create manifests. I like that sentence. Highlight that and think about it. That Ananda or the bliss is not as much an experience, rather a state from where the possibility to create manifests. Because why would we don't want it to be an experience? If it's an experience, then we are always seeking one experience to the other. We're still flitting at the surface of life, where if you think of our life as a water body, and each experience is each ripple. So we are still living in that excitement and that ripple. And again, there's not right or wrong being there, but we begin to seek bliss as something external to ourselves. If I had this, I would be blissful. How many times if you fill in that blank? And that Ananda or that bliss is really, that's what we're seeking within ourselves. It's not the experiences.
It is amazing because we do live in such a negative world. Yeah. To feel that bliss, or you have conversations with people, and a lot of times I like to listen a lot, and people will just kind of just pour out their heart and soul sometimes about all their problems and issues, and sometimes I have to figure out, okay, well, I do empathize with them, but at the same time I can't resolve their issues. I'm not really sure what I'm trying to say here, but I guess my point was it's a very negative world, and it's a difficult thing sometimes to try to find bliss in the turmoil.
And not be sucked into the negativity.
And sucked into the negativity. Thank you.
Yeah. I get that. I totally understand what you're saying.
So I liked how Eckhart Tolle explained that. And there's, I think, The New Earth or the Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle. And he said that, this is to your point, Joanne, that these are all pointers, right? And so this is all what is called the Swadhyaya, the study of the self, one of the niyamas, right? Where you don't only study yourself, you study other seers and sages, and then you see yourself in context to that. So Eckhart Tolle said that he calls them pain bodies. And he said pain bodies are how we learn to operate within a family, within a society, within a culture, within a race, within a nation. He says that. And he says then that pain body will only feel satisfied when it interacts with another pain body or when it's fed. So you feed the pain body through that negativity, what you're calling it. And it's not because you have lack of compassion that you don't want to listen to the other person, but there comes a point where that saying where you don't get dragged into somebody else's storm, bring them into your peace.
Can you repeat that?
Where you don't allow someone to pull you into their storm, but bring them into your peace. It's a quote from somebody, I can't remember, so I might not be saying it. But basically that's what it means, that let them come into you. So if you're holding your peace, and so how do you deal with things like that? And that's that whole book, Eckhart Tolle, I think it's A New Earth. But he explains it and he says there comes a point where your inner work to yourself is your prime responsibility. Your soul made a contract and came into this world, chose its parents, chose to be born somewhere, so it could clear out its previous karmic debts and be allowed to lead a life which is more aligned with your purpose, that soul purpose. So everything is an experience. Then you begin to see that, okay, well, without getting into too much of an analysis paralysis, you begin to see, okay, what was this message in this for me? This person was being so nasty to me, and so that human in you that gets slighted, you pause, you take a breath, and you go, okay, what was I meant to see in this situation? That was also a hard, challenging thing. Like when you come into this path, you begin to find those moments to yourself as being the most joyful, like who you are begin to become more joyful and not running away or shying away from your responsibility, but even going back, even in intimate relationships, go back to the point when you met somebody and that person was fascinated by you. It was because you were a person that was bringing yourself into that relationship, and maybe you were first fascinated by the other person and that person brought themselves into the relationship. But then somehow another story creeps in, and then the two yous become one we. And that is the start of all the problems, because I have not been able to understand who that me is in any situation completely. And now I'm trying to drag you into it and somehow projecting my emotion. Like everything becomes like a mishmash, that whole chaos that is life. You cannot begin to separate your own mind, your own thoughts, and your own feelings from the minds and the thoughts and the feelings of the other. So all the media and the news and everything that's happening, it is happening for real. There's no doubt about it. But at some point you begin to say, you know what? Tell me what I can do to help in this situation. And then that becomes your answer to say, you know what? I cannot. You're asking me to lift a heavy weight. I don't have that capacity either in my physical body or my mental or emotional body. So you begin to you begin to live with the Satya. There's not a judgment happening that, to yourself or to the other person, but you're beginning to say, yes, I can see that you are being affected by it this way, but tell me what I can do.
Thank you.
So, did we finish this? Through this sheet of vibratory connection, pure consciousness enters into creation. There are no malfunctions at this level, as the mind is free from vrittis or mental confusions and distractions. Yoga, with its deep awareness of being, which is samadhi in brackets, brings a person to this level of transcendence. Samadhi is considered the state of pure consciousness. There is no observer, no observing, and no object of observation. Jiv Atma, the individual soul, is like a wave that emerges from the ocean of existence and wanders from embodiment to embodiment, and after a long process of development and experience again returns to the unity of the Atma. Mind or chitta, which is free from thoughts, desires, and movements, the vrittis that become peaceful and in the state of samadhi. So, you know what? This is the thing. Samadhi is a big word now. You hear it. I'm looking for enlightenment. I'm looking for liberation. I'm looking for moksha. I'm looking for nirvana. You know what? What is all that?
Don't look, just wait for it to show up.
What's that?
All inside you.
Already there, right?
Yes. My Buddhist friend, Ted, Brianna, you met him at that Pape Station, that bookshop. Theodore, right? He gave me a book, Riding the Ox Home. It's a small book. And I do bring Buddhism in it because it is really a part of yoga. It's not separate. All these different lines of yoga and the kinds of yoga and hatha and raja and kriya and karma and bhakti and tantric and kundalini, they all interpenetrate each other. Riding the ox home. And in that he wrote one line and he said, basically, my friend, nothing is missing. So it's a small book, read it, see how it resonates with you. Riding the ox. So that is what samadhi is. Like in any given moment, who was it, Joanne? You said, since you started doing the teacher training, you are able to touch, I'm just rewording it, but that's how I do it. You're able to touch that part of you that feels peace. Right? Why wouldn't samadhi be that? We are all looking at all. At the end of the day, why are we doing yoga? I mean, why do we do? We are looking for, when students come, they want to feel well. They want to feel relaxed. And they might have heard that flexibility gives them something, so they want to feel flexible, right? Right? Or they want to get a six-pack, whatever, physical. And that's fine. But really, at the end of the day, if that physical is not going to give you a sense of peace and wellness and acceptance and relaxation, then you'll keep going to saying, I'm going to find another teacher, I'm going to find another modality, or I'm going to do something else. And really at the bottom of it is that you all want to feel well and relaxed and in peace.
Hello?
See?
Laura talking.
I looked up on Amazon right now, Riding the Ox Home, and there's 5 different books with that title. Do you know who the author is?
This one is, I'm not going to walk to my bookshelf because I might drag the computer or the micro, but I will get back to you.
Thank you.
Author, yeah. When I look at it, I will let you know. Yeah. Maybe it's different versions. Somebody was saying here that it could be different versions because otherwise it would be infringement, right?
Yeah, that's what I was
That's
thinking.
different authors.
There must be different versions, like different editorial versions.
Can somebody bring it up? And
It's
that's
different authors.
Yeah, Laura's saying there's different authors.
yeah, we got it.
Yeah.
John.
Diado.
Daido. Loori. That's the author. John Dido or
Yeah.
Daido. Loori. Okay. Dido.
I got it.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody wants to comment on before we go into chakras?
Yeah.
Let's have a bit of conversation.
Will they be doing,
What's that?
when you're talking about, that discovering that place of peace,
Yeah.
will they be doing yoga nidra with you at some point?
I think it's on the schedule.
Is that on the schedule?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. It's not till next week, I think, right?
Let me see. I have it right here.
Okay.
The question was that would they be doing yoga nidra at some point?
But I really need this one.
You know, when I on Sunday the 15th, oh, that's going to be pretty loaded too.
It's one point
I'm going to put it in there.
Yeah, that's not good. I know you have 61 points on there. It's just because if you don't have time to do it on Skype, I can always do your soundscape.
Yeah, I would love to do yoga nidra. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so and I'll send you guys a link through SoundCloud for my yoga nidra recording. Okay.
So you want us to go to chakras in our manual?
There's a very good question that's just come up, and I just want to repeat it to you. The part that we just read on the Anandamaya, because this is a great segue to meditation, which is also on our list today. The part where it says there is no observer, no observing, and no object of observation. So, Brianna was saying the question was that aren't we observing our thoughts? Aren't we observing our breath?
That's like meditation.
Right.
So you're saying that then you just throw that all out the window.
We do.
You practice it and then you just throw it all and then it just goes away.
Yeah, because it's a really good point that is coming up. Let's go slowly into it. So the question was that's in meditation, right? When you're sitting and watching your breath or your thoughts, right? So what's happening in meditation? You are told find an anchor, or maybe it's got a different word depending on what kind of meditation you do. And what you do is you watch your breath. So your breath becomes the anchor, right? So the breath becomes the anchor, right? Just bear with me. So when the breath is the anchor, each thought that arises, you bring it back, your attention back to the breathing, the inhale and exhale. So that's how you use that breath as the anchor. Thoughts coming up, vritti is happening, inhale, exhale. Vritti is happening, inhale, exhale. My back is killing me, inhale, exhale, right? You keep coming back to that inhale, exhale. So what is that anchor doing? That anchor is allowing you to build a single point of focus. So tell me somebody, what are the steps in meditation? These basic steps, you're not going to go into too esoteric. So the first step is single point focus. And that the Sanskrit name for that is dharana. Remember, single point focus, dharana, anchor is your breath. Okay? Second one is continuous focus, which is your dhyana. A stream of continuous focus. Kind of keeping instead of moving, instead of being like instead of the anchor, instead of there being too many waves of the thought that's moving that boat around too much, the vritti, the thoughts, the waves begin to settle down, and that leads you into dhyana. And the next step is samadhi. And samadhi has 3 stages to it too. Don't ask me the Sanskrit names, but there are 3 stages of samadhi. There is a stage where the observer, what is being observed, and the process of observation become one. It can happen so briefly, momentarily. What happens when we see a beautiful sunrise or something that just takes your breath away? For that moment, you don't even think before you say, let me get the camera out. You're just like, that is the first level of samadhi.
So observer becomes the observation? Is that what you said? No, you said something
the observer.
Yeah.
What is being observed?
Yeah.
Can't even spell. Right? The observer, what is being observed, and the process of observation. Mm-hmm. Right? This process of what is being, it becomes one. So that, to your point, does that explain?
So you lose yourself, like you have no sense of self, right there, right?
So the comment to that came up was that you lose your sense of self in that moment. Split of a second it could happen, right? Before the thought comes in, before the thought says, oh my gosh, I have to capture this in my iPhone, or the rainbow is beautiful, or, oh my gosh, I saw this before, or your reminder of something else. That moment that takes your breath away, the anchor gets lifted, and you're floating, and it happens for a split second. That's one stage of samadhi. When I reach the 3rd stage, I'll come back and tell you.
Are you going to be here with us?
So really, remember, all these are pointers, right? Samadhi cannot be explained. We use 1,000 words to explain that split second of that moment, that aha moment. It is really that aha moment. And then we understand, we get that aha moment, and then we use another 1,000 words to explain to the other person. So remember, these are all pointers. It can only be experienced. Why can't you explain it? Because as soon as you begin to bring the words in, you're moving into your, which sheet? You're moving into the mental and the Manomaya and Vijnana Maya Kosha. As soon as you begin to explain what happens, you're into your mental, emotional, even from a higher vibrational level, you are there. Language becomes a barrier.
Yeah, it was meditation, watch the breath anchor. What does that say?
It says that the anchor is your single point focus. So the breath is your single point focus, yeah. Somebody is keeping me honest on the time? Okay.
Chakras.
We don't want to open a bottle of wine and stay here till 12 o'clock, do we?
Right.
Okay, so let's do chakras.
They got a long day tomorrow.
Okay. So, so the page on chakras that I would like you guys to read, let's see, what are you, where's that chart? Page 28 for me. Let's talk about chakra. In the next half an hour, it's better to get a discussion going on some points. Right. And then we'll bring it up again on Sunday.
Chakras. It will be, well, it starts in one.
Can I erase all this right now?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Let me see if this
Our
is.
manual's 129.
In the
screen.
Oh, right here. Okay, so I have it.
Oh.
Give room.
See?
For the sake of time,
Yeah.
since I covered the first three chakras,
Right.
do you want to go to the next four
Okay.
or not?
Yeah.
Is
So
that
did you
you?
guys do it on the chart?
Do it on the chart. They use their chart.
So kind of did a collective reading of the chart. You know how we do with the teacher training.
Yeah.
So
No,
I think
we did.
let's just change this around. Let's talk a little bit about chakras. So the lower chakra. So let me tie it into the koshas. You guys can see something here that I was working with. So let's go back to the sheets for a moment, right? And where we begin to see the subtle bodies coming in. So the chakras reside. What are chakras?
Energy centers.
Okay, what are chakras? Energy centers. What else? Portals.
They're like, they move in direction.
Okay, energy centers. Portals.
Portal, wheels.
Wheels.
Wheels. So, what is going on? So, what is going on is this. We have the physical body, and we have the emotional body, and we have the mental body. Right? In our discussions, we've begun to see the connection between the emotional and the mental bodies on our, what did we say? On our body awareness, on our diet, on our health, right? Are you guys with me? We begin to see the connection of the physical and mental bodies on how we are as physical beings, right? Because physical is the biggest gross, right? That's how we relate. This is the vehicle I have. I need to do my asanas. I need to be flexible. I need to be strong. But I also need to be mentally strong and emotionally strong. So that's what we were dealing in the koshas. So what is feeding? Let's think about the chakras as energy currents, right? Feeding the emotional and mental body. How about that? Will that pass? Energy currents.
Emotional and mental.
Feeding our mental and emotional bodies. Whether we call it mental and emotional bodies or sheets, we won't get stuck in those, right? For the sake of language, we just call them these bodies, right? So what happens if this is, where are these flowing? So where are these energy currents flowing?
Through your body.
Through your body, right? And we call that they flow through what is called nadis. They flow through the nadis. In Chinese, we even the meridian points, the meridians, right? But basically, if there are our thoughts and our emotions that are flowing through the body, what are they affecting? They may be affecting our central nervous system. Is the sympathetic nervous system in high alert, or is the parasympathetic nervous system allowing us to relax? So stay away from visualizing it. I know we've all got that perfect picture of the chakras and the 7 chakras, right? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? We kind of say that they are from the base of the spine to the crown of the head. We have these energy wheels that move, and they're supposed to be vortices, and they're energy currents, and what affects them then? So if these are energy currents and our mental and emotional thoughts and feelings are affecting them, what can imbalance them? We said these are energy centers, portals, wheels. If our mental bodies and our emotional bodies are affecting them, what can begin to happen in the health of these wheels? Like, are they spinning efficiently? Are they getting affected by our emotions and our thoughts? They can get blocked. So the question is, they can get blocked. So if we slice and dice a chakra, now I'm looking at it from the top, right? These are the 7 chakras. And we say these are the energy currents coming in here, right? Through how we are taking in and through how we are relating. And something happens in the thought and it blocks. This is one thought. Maybe there's a blockage here. Maybe there's a blockage here. What is blocking it? It's our emotions and our thoughts. So if you hear as teacher that, okay, I'm going to come to your class, I want a chakra. If you put a sign out there, this is a chakra class, it did become a fad that you'll have a long lineup. But as teachers, now that you're beginning to understand what is chakras, right? And we'll do, on Sunday, and I'll give you some reading to do it. Sorry, we didn't get into meditation. It traces back to saying that, will a chakra-based yoga session of 60 minutes help me to balance my chakras?
Well, it can give you a guidance, right?
So for that time, remember how we said, let's just inhale and exhale. Maybe what is going on is it's our mental and emotional bodies that are out of balance. But I've come to the yoga class, I've had a shitty day at work, and I've come over here, and you're my teacher, and I know that you're going to give me some expected asana. You'll make me move through some stuff. You'll make me hold. You'll make me breathe. You'll make me bring alignment to my pelvic floor, lifting to the pelvic floor, dropping your shoulder blades, or softening the shoulder. All the wonderful cues that you begin to understand through the anatomical understanding of the body, that you as a teacher are going to lead me through that session. And in that process, when you make me pause for the inhale and exhale, I might end up weeping because I suddenly realized what was bothering me. And maybe I have released and cleared some thought or grip, something that was gripping me. So then as teachers, you have helped in really balancing the energies, right? Balancing the chakras. That's what you've done in that class. Maybe there's so much energy that needs to be out that you've given me the opportunity to have a kick-ass kind of a yoga session, get my energy out, led me through some asanas where I'm holding, I'm stretching, I'm releasing, I'm relaxing, and you brought attention to the body awareness through breathing and through cues. And I've gone into Shavasana, and I came out of it, and I'm thinking, my gosh, I just feel that the world has changed. In that moment, you have helped yourself or your participants in the class to bring some kind of semblance of balance in their mental and emotional body. And you begin to create a space between the situation that was happening and the now, and maybe the intensity of what was happening lessens. And remember, thoughts are like waves. It's going to come back up again. What do you do when that grips you again? So when we think about the chakras, we think about the physical. So you've got the Muladhara, right? Your base chakra. You've got your Swadhisthana. You've got your Manipura. So you're looking at this container, the pelvic bowl area. This is where your most your nerves reside here. Joanne probably talked to you guys so much about, the weak and tight psoas muscle that supports the nerves around the pelvic bowl area. You begin to understand that, okay, I'm secure, I'm safe, I have a place to sleep, I have food to eat. My relationship with the material or the physical is kind of balanced. I have willpower. So you've worked on the lower three chakras. We need to rise above it. If 80% of the world is living through the lower three chakras, and that's like the teacher said, money, sex, power. We can't go beyond money, sex, power. How are we going to rise into the heart? It's all then a hoax, right? Because it's not coming from, I'm feeling insecure. And remember, there is a time for it. If I've lost my job, or if I don't know where I'm going to eat or where my next meal is coming from, my lower three chakras are going to be imbalanced. You bring them back to that body. In an asana class, leading them through compassion to their body, that moment of appreciation might come up and the person will say, well, at least I have my body, right? Now I'll decide where I need to stay or where I'm going to get a job. So you never know who's coming into your class and what the situations are. Yeah?
So I have a question, and I don't want to delay the class. But I was just like, are we going to talk about, because I know that you can open chakras and work on the chakras with the asanas, right? But what about, I find that, as you know, I don't teach much, but when I have taught and when I do chanting, gosh, it's like it's so powerful. And I don't know, sometimes I think it's even better than do a guided meditation. People chanting just finds it like absolutely magical. And I think that might help to with the chakras if you do certain chantings and stuff. I want to actually excel my chantings because I only know like 2 or 3 that we learn.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like if you can tell me resources where to find, and then like maybe if there's videos or something, so I learn the pronunciation before I start to memorize and stuff.
Okay. So the question is that when Letty was saying that when she's taught and she's focused on chanting, for example, as part of a yoga session instead of just even meditation, she's found that, and this is how I'm rewording it, that people, their vibration were raised. They came into the heart, and then they felt that it benefited them so much, and they were happier and lighter and yes. So the question is that can we talk a little bit, or I'll guide her into where to find resources for what does chanting do, and the kirtan and the call and response, but that's on a side note. Yes. So the yoga asanas that we do, even before people talked about chakras, right? Think about what is going on. We're bringing the attention to the feet, right? We're lying on our back, we're maybe moving our legs. You're already engaging your lower chakras, right? You're getting that connection between the torso and the legs. You're doing twists, you're doing a bridge pose. These are all engaging your chakras, because on another note, the yogis don't add science to it, but science is not trying to find the connection that where these chakras are, our endocrine system and our hormonal system resides there. So just without knowing the name of the chakras, without knowing the Sanskrit, understanding the essence of what each chakra is. I'm grounded. I know where I belong. What is my tribe? I'm in the lower chakra. I know my relationships. I balance my relationship with the material worlds, right? So I feel, and I can come into the Manipura, the solar plexus. If you've got these three emotions and feelings, and they can be imbalanced. I mean, so many people will be in their solar plexus and highly opinionated, and they're imbalanced in a different way. They need to come back. They might have too much opening in that Manipura, and what is lacking is it's not going up into the heart because it's just circling down there below. So when you come to the heart, the Anahata, you've got your lower chakra secure. And remember again, don't think of it linear. It can happen in one session on the mat, or it can happen throughout the day, or give a timeline to it. So then you come into your heart, and the heart it's almost a center. So we do heart opening, right? We do the 4 weeks. So remember, as yoga teachers, what are we doing? The forward bends are calming. The back bends are heart openers, are energizing. So when you're sequencing your classes, you're seeing the effect of doing these asanas, right? And then you come to the throat. I mean, what is your throat? So heart is, so if you look at the verbs, let's look at the verbs. So the first chakra tells you, I have, right? I have what I need what I have. The second chakra tells you, I feel. The third chakra tells you, I can. It's a willpower. The fourth chakra, the Anahata, tells you, I love. The fifth chakra, when you come into your throat, tells you, I speak. I speak the truth. I speak what I know to be the truth. And that's how you say it. And you say, honestly, this is as much as I know. And somebody corrects you and you say, okay, well, I didn't have all the facts. But somebody said a half truth is a full lie. Think about that. A half truth is a full lie. It's okay to say that it is not for me to give you the answer. It is not for me to give you this information. It's okay to say that. But a half truth is a full lie. You come into your sixth chakra, your sixth sense, the command center, you say, I see. And your seventh chakra, the Sahasrara, is I am. And what begins to happen once you've identified yourselves in these chakras, you come back down, and that's when you become collective. It's because we are. We see. We speak. We speak for each other. We stand for each other. We love. We can. We feel. And we have. And that's when the understanding of what is going on in the energy currents that are flowing in our subtle bodies, the koshas, the emotional and the mental body, and a bit into the Vijnana Maya kosha that you're going now into the higher, begins to feed or develop what is called the discernment.
So I have a question. So is this true that if you, say for example, if your root chakra is blocked, then because you have certain issues going on, then the energy doesn't flow through all the upper chakras? Can your chakras not operate individually? and like I'm fine with my heart chakra, I'm fine with my voice chakra, whatever, but I have an insecurity problem, or I don't feel like I have the power that I should, and I lead with this root chakra problem.
So the question is that if your root chakra, your first chakra is blocked or imbalanced, can the other chakras compensate for it? Can you still have an open heart? Anybody wants to attack it before I start off?
I've heard that the higher chakras govern all the lower. So if your seventh chakra in connection to the divine, whatever, perfectly intact, then that kind of centers everything else.
See, I heard exactly the opposite. That starts with the root chakra, and it goes up.
So everybody's right. So let's just turn to the page. Do we have time to read through this chart, Joanne?
You've got 15 minutes.
Okay. So I'm turning to the chart starting with Vishuddha, right? And I'm not going to go through the mantras or the association. I'm just going to, the section that I'm going to read is physical dysfunctions if unbalanced and psychological issues if unbalanced.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, is everybody with me?
This is the chart.
Yeah.
This is a chart with all the symbols.
Okay.
You
Right.
see it?
Yeah.
Right. So let's look at, can I start?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So let's start with the Vishuddha. So the physical dysfunctions, no, let's leave the physical out. Let's look at the psychological issues if unbalanced. Lack of courage, fear of jumping into the unknown, shyness, speaking too bluntly, withdrawing from emotions, unable to express through communications, easily agitated with inefficient communication. Positive attributes when balanced: voicing the truth, someone who is authentic and unbiased, listening beyond words, inspirational communicator. And let's read the affirmations together. Creativity flows through me. I hear and speak the whole truth. My intentions are clear. So this is the throat chakra, okay? So we just read the psychological issues, the positive attributes when balanced, and the affirmations.
I'm confused. Is this the third chakra you
No,
said?
no.
Which one is this?
So we're dealing with the top three.
Okay.
Dealing with Vishuddha.
So is this the third eye?
This is the throat.
Oh, this is the throat. Okay.
Third chakra, Vishuddha. We're doing the top three. We're not coming to the heart. We're going to the top three.
Okay.
Are you guys with me in New Jersey?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Now let's go to the next chakra, the Agya chakra. AJNA is pronounced Agya. Psychological issues if unbalanced, confusion, feeling of inadequacy, being out of it, for example, out of the body or out of touch with body, confusion with what is considered reality, over intellectual analysis or hiding in intellectual analysis, inability to focus, psychic disturbances. Positive attributes when balanced: being comfortable in any reality, clear perception, psychic abilities, intuition, and lucid dreams. And let's read the affirmations together. I am at peace. I am fully complete as I am. I am a manifestation of the universe. I trust my intuition. I trust. And the last top chakra is one that's going to answer some questions here, the Sahasrara. What are the psychological issues if unbalanced? Despair and doubt, apathy, alienation, close-minded, doubting spirituality, religious extremism. Positive attributes when balanced: bliss and joy, experiencing all as one, samadhi, or the mastering the higher power. So let's read the affirmations. I am guided and connected to the universal progression of consciousness. I am a part of everything. With conscious awareness and action upon the lessons learned in awareness, I participate within the evolution of universal consciousness. So the question was that led me to want to read these three on the chart was that one person asked that can we have one bottom chakra balance but another chakra can compensate? And the other one was that can we start with just the higher chakras and then move down? So think of a child who is raised in a foster home. The child is 6 or 7 or 10 or whenever they were in the foster home. That child becomes an adult. That child wants to learn about who am I. There's all these readings of all these books, Swadhyaya, the self-study, reads all the books that are there, and then sits down there and is completely insecure. What is that person, what is happening there? Who is my tribe? Where do I belong? What is my family? That is never going to be balanced. And the compensation is over-intellectualization, over-reading, over trying to compensate for the first chakra. Because if you were to draw a circle, sorry, this is the last diagram. It's how is it all connected is like this. So remember we said that life doesn't happen linear. It's everything going on in this moment. So I'm going to use an example of a spiral. So this is what's going on. So if I'm ungrounded in my first chakra, what's going to affect? So if I don't know who my tribe is, who was my family, how will we get to that feeling I am and we are? Because I'll always be pulling down in what is in it for me. I don't have enough. Remember the word, the affirmation was, I have. If this is lacking, if this grounding is lacking, how is my seventh chakra going to feel I am? Betty did that?
Yeah, well, that's what kind of like what I understood from what I read and what I heard, right? Like, if the base chakra is not settled, then it kind of balances everything. But you're right, it connects you right to the top, to the mind, to the intellect, right here, right? That's what will be, because you will not have like an empty.
Because it'll be fragmented, right?
Yeah.
You could have the best answers and you could have the best well-read, but if that grounding, if that feeling of creativity or where I come from, if that's first and second and third chakra are not balanced, then this, the center of the heart will miss out. You'll either be up here or you'll either be down here. And that is where the heart chakra is. When you say, I love, the anahata, you begin to see what is love. Ask that then, what is love? Is love support me, feed me? Is love make me feel whole? You complete me. That's the biggest lie in that movie. And then we all begin to see that somebody else is going to complete me. I heard some. Right? Okay, are we getting to 9 o'clock? A couple of minutes. Okay, let's have some questions from you guys. We're gonna be touching on chakras completely again on Sunday, because then we'll start to talk about chakras and vayus, and so we'll be discussing more.